Good afternoon, and good afternoon. I'm Dr. James Smith Jr., and welcome back to another edition of the Dr. James Show. We've been doing this show for nearly 2 years. In essence, it was a pandemic blessing. We were in conversations with the Pyramid Club to do the show live there. But the pandemic came and is still here, and we pivoted and moved to the Zoom platform. And it's a blessing because some of the guests we've had have not been in the city or the state of PA. And our guest today, oh my goodness, is in Taiwan. That's right, it is midnight where she is. And by virtue of Zoom, we're able to bring her to you. So I'm looking forward to a phenomenal show. Listen, if you know someone close by, tell them to join in because the show is going to rock today. So make sure you text someone else to join. Our guest, Diana Watson, is a Chinese international thought leader. She is an author. She's a speaker. She is a Toastmasters champion, and we'll get to that later on in the program. And she has spent the last 2 decades bridging Western and Chinese cultures. Let's welcome to the Dr. James Show, the Diana Watson. Diana, welcome. How are you? And again, glad to see you.
Thank you, Dr. James. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am beyond excited to be on a live interactive show from Taiwan to my hometown, Philly.
West Philadelphia, somewhere near there, right?
I'm outside of Southwest Philly in Yeadon,
Okay.
Delaware County. So, I still say Philly's my home, but if I meet someone from Philly, they say, "You're not from Philly, you're from the suburbs, girl." I'm like, yeah, but if you live thousands of miles away, you're still from Philly.
I tell you what, I want to be able to look as good as you look at midnight. Wow, you're bringing it. You're bringing it.
I'm telling you, it's because I love you so
much. Well, get ready for this ride. Listen, a few weeks ago, we did a show that featured the former staff members and leaders of Inroads Philadelphia.
Yes.
We had Ron Mitchell, we had Larry Boyd, we had Oscar, we had Dory. It was a great show. And I know you come from that Inroads family. So take a look at these 2 pictures. Talk to me about what's happening there during your Inroads Day. It looks like a special project, looks like a black tie event. Talk to us about your Inroads days and these 2 pictures.
Oh my goodness. Okay. You pulled up some stuff. Okay, now the first picture, I was just talking to my mother the other day about that dress. That is the Indecent Proposal Demi Moore dress. I found that in Bryn Mawr on the main line at a consignment shop, and I was so proud to wear that to the Inroads ball that we had this year. It was around the holidays. And I see that dress and I'm like, I was just telling my mother, I said, I wonder if I could still fit that dress. It's classless, So I'm so excited to see it. I'm like, the dress. And then the other picture on the right-hand side, now I'm trying to think of who that is next to me. Lawanda?
It looks like Yolanda, yeah.
Lawanda? Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm looking at my cheeks, and that was 30 years ago.
Diane, talk about your Inroads experiences. How did Inroads prepare you for this life it's international life you're now living?
Inroads was critical to helping me become a more mature person that could handle the different types of adversity that I was going to have to face within the work environment. So often when we're in university, those years we spend growing, living in dormitories and living with different people, different races and different backgrounds, and learning how to get along, our first time being away from our parents and their rules and regulations, we tend to get a little wild and just getting caught up and being free.
Yeah.
And every summer when I would come back home and I was in the program, we had a lot of all day Saturday workshops. I remember us having like a 4 or 5 day extensive retreat at one of the colleges, like at one of the colleges or universities in the area, where they really did an excellent job of grounding us, like getting us back down to earth and saying, listen, I know you think you're all that because you go to XYZ school or because you're in this program and work for this Fortune 500 company. But guess what? These are the different things that you're going to have to understand and learn. And it really just helped us to grow. So for example, I remember when my company was Walsall Insurance Companies, and I wanted to change companies because I said, insurance is like, it's so boring. I said, I want to be with one of the like rock star companies that are like interesting and like, cutting edge and everything. And I remember at the time when I went to a retreat and I had talked to Ron Mitchell about it. I had talked to Rodney at that point about it because Sharon Rose was my advisor the first 2 years and Rodney was my advisor the last 2 years.
What a combination. What a combination.
Yeah, I know, right? And I remember both of them telling me the same thing. They said, at this point, you're just getting started. It really doesn't matter which company that you're at. What matters are the lessons that you're learning while you're there. And, getting this opportunity to work with different types of people and developing that kind of maturity. So by the time you're finished with university, you're going to be 10 steps ahead and have a whole lot more insight than everybody else around you. And of course, I didn't want to hear that at the time because you're young and you just know what you want. And that just wasn't it for me. And then I remember after I finished university, I went into the Peace Corps in Nicaragua for a short period of time. And I look back and I was able to carry myself and handle so many things so much better, and being able to live in a very impoverished developing country because a lot of the skills that I learned that, not only Rodney and Sharon Rose, but other En-ROADS advisors were able to teach us during their workshops and the different types of exercises we were able to do. So I am so indebted to En-ROADS and the opportunities that they were able to give me at such, a young age during those formative years. And I'm positive that I wouldn't have been able to live in other countries like I have if it hadn't been for those critical years from 17 to 22 that I had working as an intern through En-ROADS. Definitely, hands down. So thank you so much, En-ROADS. Thank you.
It's ironic that you talked about where you are now, because during the show, they joked that all the interns make a lot more money than them now. So they really got you guys ready for the future. Now, through my research, I've learned that you lived in France, Nicaragua, Indonesia, Taiwan. When did this love affair with travel first start? And I hear that your sister played a role in that as well.
Excellent. Yes. Excellent question. Well, if you were to talk to my mother would tell you it started at 3. She said all of a sudden I came running downstairs and told her I wanted to go to Hawaii. And every time I came up with some new place, I was always coming up with some new place that I saw that my sister like showed to me. Remember back in the day in the 70s, we had these McNally globes.
Yes.
And my sister, do you remember those back in the day? And then we had a collection of encyclopedias. And if you had like the new that were like leather bound and everything, like that was the thing. And my parents bought a set of encyclopedias and a globe that they kept in my sister's room since she was the oldest. And I remember going into her room and we would just spin the globe around and we would just look at all the different countries in the world. And we would say, I want to go here. I want to go there. I want to experience this. I want to experience that. And my sister paved the way for me because she went to Villanova University and majored in modern languages. And while she was there, you know, learning languages, you learn the cultures, you have this interest. So once she finished with university, she worked on a cruise ship, which at the time was very difficult for traditional Black families. Like, my baby is leaving. No, she can't leave. And I mean, I look back now and I'm just like, that was nothing. My sister was only gone for like less than a year. Like, give me a break. I've been gone for almost 20. But at the time, I mean, the whole family was just so emotionally distraught that my sister left. But she paved the way for me by working on this cruise ship where she had this opportunity to work with these people from all over the world. She was able to practice so many different languages. And when she came home, when it was time for me to go, when I wanted to go, it was still difficult for my parents, but they could handle it. So she, in so many ways, she paved the way for me to travel. She paved the way for me learning languages. And, you know, she helped warm my parents up so I could go away.
So you can go away and do what I'm about to show the audience. Now listen, before we show the video,
Okay.
I am extremely proud of you. The number one fear for adults is public speaking. And you are speaking beast, and not only speaking English, but speaking Mandarin. After I show the video, I want you to tell us about your version of what happened, where you are the first Toastmaster champion to win in another country's using the native language. You crushed this. It went viral twice. Let's take a look at Diana Watson doing what she does best.
你们觉得我很奇怪吗？俗话说，见怪不怪，奇怪自败。如果你们觉得我很奇怪，那你们自己就太奇怪了。虽然我住在这里好几年了，但是对你们来讲，我还是外国人。回美国时，我父母却觉得我是台湾人，真的很奇怪呢。因为我是黑人，很多人问我很奇怪的问题，比如说，路上的妈常常问我。 你的头发是真的吗？是真的，是自然卷吗？是自然卷的。我可以摸一下吗？可以。你一定省了很多烫头发的钱哦。 我其实花了很多钱把我的头发烫直的啦。
I still get asked that minimum twice a week. The grandmas here always ask me about my hair. They're just amazed.
So take us back. Number one, where did you get the courage to do that? How long did it take to get you stage ready? And you're on that stage, probably the only person in that theater who looked like you, or maybe one other person or two other people. But talk to us about that experience and watching it just now. How did that feel?
Well, you know, so many people say that when you finally reach some quote unquote success, you know, that's a relative term, that it seems like it was, you know, it was overnight, and it wasn't. It was such a long journey. Oh, look at those pictures. Yeah, it was such a really long journey. In the beginning, I was competing in English, and I worked so hard. I kept scoring second place in English over and over and over again. And I finally won the English competition and represented Taiwan in Las Vegas in the semifinals in 2015. And I remember saying to myself that I just always wanted to compete in Mandarin. I always wanted to be able to give speeches in Mandarin, but it was just so challenging. The language is very, very difficult. I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be able to do it. And I had a good friend in my Toastmasters club who's Taiwanese, and she really struggled with her English. She had a speech impediment problem, and she was also struggling to learn the language. And it didn't stop her. She always prepared very hard. She still became a leader within our club. She still did all of her jobs to the best of her ability, even though it was really obvious to all of us that it was incredibly challenging for her. And seeing her struggle and seeing how she was improving, I remember one day I came home and I said to myself, how can you not have the courage when you have a dream that's just as big as hers, if not bigger, because you're living in another country, you know, where you need to use this language? How can you not have the courage to do what she's doing, or at least to try to do what she's doing? So I remember, not maybe a week after I had this revelation, I joined an all Chinese Toastmasters club where no one could even understand, hi, how are you? And I really started working on it. And I remember in New Year's of 2017, I was out with one of my friends for brunch, January 1st, and you're coming up with your resolutions for the year. And I told her, I said, I had 2 that year that I succeeded in. I said, the first one is I wanted to coach a Taiwanese woman in a Toastmasters speech contest, because not enough Taiwanese women's stories are being heard because they're busy taking care of their families. They're not able to compete for different, family obligations, work obligations. And the second thing was I wanted to compete in Mandarin Chinese. But I didn't have big hopes of winning, James. It was just like, no way. Like, it was literally just, I'm going to participate, tick, I did it, and that's it. Like, I just wanted to be able to feel like I tried, like I just did it. And I remember the first contest, there were 5 of us. And
while you're talking, we're going to put the link to the video in the chat room so people can watch it, so it can go viral again.
All right. Okay. Thank you. And I remember
there were 5 of you.
There were 5 of us. And I remember that one person went overtime, and I knew that, so there was only 4 people that could be placed. And when they called the 3rd person, they said the 3rd place person, and it wasn't me. And it wasn't another person. And I said, oh my goodness, like, it's a miracle. Because, these are all Taiwanese people. And I'm like the only foreigner. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I actually beat a Taiwanese person in a speech contest. I'm like, And I got 2nd place. And then I competed again, and I got 2nd place. And 2nd place was enough to move on to the next level and to the next level. And finally, I got to the point where I was at, I went to one level of the contest, and I'm telling you, I forgot a complete paragraph. I looked incredibly stupid. I was so embarrassed. I remember leaving the contest, not hearing who placed, and going back home and crying because I said, I'm just a loser. I just felt so awful about myself. And then all of a sudden my phone rang and they said, Diana, where are you? You're first place. And I'm like, what? I forgot a whole paragraph. I look like a complete idiot. How could I be first place? And I'm telling you, I competed against, I think it was about 8 or 9 other contestants that night, all Taiwanese, all were super funny. I said, there is no way I won. That's why I just left. Like, I just left. I was so humiliated. She called me. She said, where are you? You were first place. And after that, I knew that there was something more powerful than me that was emotion that was meant to be for this speech. And I just kind of rolled with it. And then I had another competition, and it, you know, I just breezed through it. And then that final one that you just saw, that was difficult because it was national and it was hundreds of people. And like you said, there was no one who looked like me. I had one friend who was a foreigner who was in the audience cheering for me. He couldn't understand a thing, but he was there. And I remember when the judge was going over the rules, I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Wow. Wow.
I couldn't understand the rules the judge was saying. And I said, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? I mean, now I could, because my Chinese is like way, like pretty good now. But, you know, at the time I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I remember saying to myself, if I walked out and just like skip this whole competition, like maybe no one would miss me.
Get out of here.
And I remember pushing myself, like it was a serious internal struggle.
Sure.
To keep my feet on that floor and not get on the elevator to go down and to escape. And I said, Diana, you will never forgive yourself if you leave. Even if you look like a complete idiot, you will never forgive yourself if you leave. And all the way up to when he announced my name to get on the stage, I was nervous like you would not believe. So I said, just get through the first sentence. And I did. Just get through the introduction. Then I did. Just get your first big laugh. And I did. And before I knew it, it was over. And I practiced that speech thousands and thousands, at least 1,000 times probably, in front of supermarkets, in front of parks. People were trying to give me money. You know, I practiced everywhere. And each time it was 6 minutes and 30 seconds. When I gave that speech that day, Dr. James, listen, it was 7 minutes and 25 seconds. And if I had hit 7:30, I would have been overtime and disqualified. So many things were in place where it was just meant to be, where that happened. So when I tell people all the time, when you are dealing with some kind of huge challenge, but it is your dream, it will take a long time and a lot of persistence to get there, because so many things will try to knock you down, and you will fall. Yeah. But you have to trust, or let's put it this way, for people who may not be very religious or whatever, you have to believe enough in yourself that every single time you fall, you're willing to get back up and keep going. Yeah. Or then you're not worthy of the challenge. You're not worthy of the dream.
I'm also hearing ridiculous work ethic. You said you practiced 1,000 times. Many of us want to rush to the finish line to say we did it. But what I heard was hours and hours and hours of practice, and not in English, in a totally different language.
And that was less than English. English, I practiced more. So Chinese was actually less than I did with English, because I had so much experience with English. A lot of everything was already put into place. So it was a lot in some respects, even though it was another language, it was easier. And I'm in Taiwan. So when people would give me input and stuff, you know, their input was always like spot on, because it wasn't like it was in a foreign language for them. So, you know, the main thing was just, you know, saying, okay, I've got to go to the park. and perform in front of all these people at least 15 times today, and tell them you don't need to put change in my hat. Just watch me. That was like the challenge. Yeah.
You say when you're there a couple times a day, a couple times a week, questions about your hair. I've been to Taiwan once, and several times during the course of my week there, I got NFL. I certainly didn't get NBA, but
NFL.
Diana, you mentioned that prepping was challenging. How about just life in general? What are some of the most challenging aspects of living abroad, living in another country?
Well, the speech shares so many of those things, and initially it can be very, very difficult and hurtful. And then you learn how to channel that energy with experience and time and understanding of another culture. You channel that energy in a different way. And I was able to put it in a humorous context, which everyone could appreciate. So, underlying comedy is always pain, is always some kind of feeling of insecurity or pain. And that's what I had living in another place where I was constantly being told, why are you so dark? Why is your hair like that? Why are you so fat? Why are you like constant whys? Because it's a homogeneous society. I didn't get this when I was in Nicaragua. I didn't get this even when I was in France, but I did get this a lot here because you have to understand that in homogeneous societies, everybody doesn't completely look the same, of course, that's a racial thing to say, but they're very similar, same hair color, same skin color, same, it's not like there's a bunch of different races like we have in Western countries. And I had, it took maturity, it took experience to get over those things. And it was challenging, but I love, at the end of the day, as hard as it is, I like being the odd person out. I like being the person where they're like, she's different. Who is she? I guess, it's kind of like my big stage being in a foreign country.
You love being a pioneer. The question in the chat room is similar to what I asked, but with a different twist. It says, what advice would you give to the next Diana or the next David regarding a mindset a person should have to effectively live in another country? So you're giving advice, you're coaching, you're letting that person know what mindset is needed to flourish living abroad. What advice would you have?
Cultural immersion is an amazing gift that you can give yourself, but not only to yourself, but also to your family and friends. I've had an incredible influence on the people around me who love me, who are still in the US from living in other countries. And if I were 20 years old before I went to France, lived in another country for the first time again, I think the number one piece of advice I would have would be, shut up. Shut up. You don't know anything.
Wow.
You don't know anything. There's a old saying, there's a reason why you have two ears and one mouth. But we swear we know everything. And when I meet foreigners who just came to Taiwan and they're trying to tell me how things are supposed to be working here, and I'm like, hold up. Do you speak the language? How long have you been here? You're using your whole frame and context from where you're from and trying to put it here? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. So if I were to go back to before I've ever went abroad, I think that the number one thing is just to shut up and listen. Really listen and learn and understand how people are thinking. And also be willing, be humble enough to share with people that you don't understand, that you want to learn. that took me years to really, really grasp and accept and make that a part of my, let's say, of the way that I decided I wanted to interact.
Was there a turning point? Was there a time okay, now I got it. I'm here. This is home. I'm not seeing Yaden right now. I'm not seeing ESPN. I'm not seeing everything that comes on in the States. I'm here. This is home. And I asked you that. I asked you that because you came back home in 19, and I did my best to get you to stay. I tried to get you to stay. Diana, come on, you can do it. He said, I'm going home. So was there a turning point where you said, I got it?
Well, 19, I had plans on going back home, coming back to Taiwan, and then returning to the States in 2020, and then COVID happened. But what essentially, this is what I was thinking at the time.
Right.
Now looking back at the situation, I can, and my family will tell you as well, I changed. I didn't realize that I had really, really, really become Taiwanese. So once you're gone, like I think, oh, at the end of the day, I'm still American. I just live in another country. And then when you go back to your country and it's been a minute and you're just like, wow, like I miss the food. I miss the people. I miss the language. I miss this. I miss that. I miss this. You're like, wow, this is, you identify and connect and relate to this culture, this place. This is who you are now. You really, really changed. And I realized that in a big way when I was in the US in 2019. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I was put in a position at the time that I felt like I had to choose, because I wanted to be able to just go back and forth and do both. Like lots of people were able to do previously, but now with COVID and everything going on in the world, I realized that I just had to make a choice.
And what an amazing choice. They love you there. We're going to show a clip of you on what appears to be a TV show. Being interviewed in Mandarin. We're going to ask you afterward to interpret what was being said. We're just going to show a brief part of it, but let's take a look. Let's take a look.
在今天我们的人物，我们要欢迎的来宾是谁呢？我们来看到的，他就是华轩呢。他来自美国费城，然后呢，他也曾经过法国、印尼、尼加拉瓜教书，来台湾将近15年。他为什么来到台湾？而且你知道他爆红哦，因为一个影片爆红，但是他说我不要做网红，因为我就是喜欢教书，我喜欢教英文。我们今天就来欢迎我们的 Diana 华轩来到现场。华轩你好，呀。请坐，请坐，谢谢。我有看到华轩哦，笑得这么开心，真的很高兴哦。哎，我问你一下哦，你来台湾15年，那你为什么想来台湾，而且跑到了埔里去教英文？为什么？
这里真的是说来话长，
说来话长，make it sure，make it sure。
对，15年以前。那个台中美国学校的校长请我来这里，请我来台湾教书。他
Talk to us. I am blown away. Diana, talk to us. Talk to us all the way from Yaden, PA to Taiwan. Talk to us.
It's always amazing to get invited onto television programs here, because they're so interested in my story and how I was able to come from there and here and make such a name for myself here. And Catherine is amazing because normally she is a serious political person. And I was nervous about being on her show. I was nervous about hosting it and letting other people see it. And she didn't even touch on it at all. She said, I have been wanting to interview you for such a long time, just because I'm just so curious about you. I was a big fan of your speech, and I just wanted to meet you and just hear about your life. No politics, no politics. I'm not going to ask you any political questions. So she was just asking me, she was just sharing like where I was from. She was asking me why I live in the countryside. I actually live in the countryside. I don't live in the big cities like everybody else does. I live across the street from a huge, beautiful lake, and there's mountains on the other side of my place. Because after 11 years of the hustle and bustle of the city, I got so sick of it. And now I'm just in the countryside enjoying life. And so she was asking me about that.
From the city to the farm, girl, huh?
Yes. And it's so nice. Oh, it's so nice. I love it. Every day is just wonderful.
She seemed very, very excited to have you on. The energy was amazing. And I'm sure you guys had a phenomenal interview. Again, if people want to get more information or look you up, where should they go? Because they can
go to dianawatson.net.
And they can go to your YouTube channel too, correct?
Yes, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is Speaking Seed. My company is called Speaking Seed, and also my book is called Speaking Seed.
We were going to
and I have it in English and in Mandarin.
We have a couple photos with people who love your book, watching you sign your books. You're just having a great time with the Speaking Seed and the admirers who, they love you. They love you. They're there for you. You want to talk to us about those pictures?
Yeah, well, that's Josh. He's a very good friend of mine. He was the only foreigner in the audience when I won that Chinese competition that day. He was there for me. I coached him, helped him win that national title in 2014. And I remember that book was probably one of the hardest things I ever did. I mean, Chinese is the hardest, but writing that book was very difficult. The Speaking Seed is the first book ever dedicated to foreign language public speaking.
Wow.
You would think you could find materials to help people make speeches in other languages, and there was nothing out there. So many times they say, if it isn't there, maybe it's a sign that you should do it, that you should make it. And I did. And the book is half biography, half how-to. And I just kind of talk people through the mindset that you have to have in order to be able to use another language to make speeches, and how much that foreign language learning and public speaking, that marriage between those two skills, can really help accelerate, help you take your fluency to a whole nother level. So it was, I'm really proud of the book. It's self-published. It's not on Amazon. I've been wanting to put it on Amazon, but for right now it's self-published. And if anyone's interested in a copy, just go to my website, send me an email, and we'll work something out and I'll ship it to you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Diana, I'm putting my questions on hold for a second. The chat room is blowing up, so let's get to it. It says, again, sum up 1 or 2 things a person should do to conquer their huge challenge to reach their dream. So 1 or 2 things a person must do or should do to conquer whatever stuff that's in the way in order to reach their dreams.
Show up. You got to show up. It doesn't matter whether you feel like it or don't feel like it. It doesn't matter whether you're prepared or not prepared. It doesn't matter whether you're sick or you're not sick. I mean, COVID, please stay home. But for the most part, we create so many excuses on why we can't lose weight, or why we can't pass a test, or why we can't, finish something that we are too scared to start, or we're in the middle of being in and we just can't complete it. And one of the things that I tell people all the time is that if you just consistently show up, it's not going to take care of all your problems, but it'll take care of about half of it. half of it, because, you know, after a while, you just get the momentum of being able to just being there and saying, okay, I'm already here. It's like working out in the morning. People say, how can you get up 5 o'clock in the morning and work out, Diana? I say half of it is just getting up.
Yep.
Just get up, turn on the lights. You're not going to just stare at the wall for a half an hour until it's time to have breakfast. Eventually, you're going to turn on that computer and you'll get on that mat and you'll work out. Like, it'll work. But, you know, you have to show up for yourself. And people think that, oh, you know, I have to do something for someone else. Why are you going to do something for someone else when you're not willing to do different things for yourself? Who's the most important person?
Mike,
the most important person is supposed to be yourself. So you're going to show up for your job. You're going to show up for all these other people, but you're not going to show up for yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Let's stay there. Let's stay there.
Okay.
Before you realized you had changed, was there ever a point where you said, I can't do this anymore? I'm tired of the stares. I'm tired of the miscommunication. I'm tired of the learning something new every day in order to just fit in. Was there one time where you felt like maybe this wasn't what I planned for? And if there
Dr.
was,
James, that's all the time. All the time.
So the most challenging aspects of living abroad is every day dealing with other people's stares, perceptions, questions. You don't get a rest.
That's actually the easy part. The hard part is the Chinese, really. The Chinese. And I'm at the point now where I can read, I can speak, but still, it's still a challenge. Like, I give trainings and presentations in Chinese, but I have to really practice it, because it's not like it is in English. I've got to practice it. I have to practice my tones. I've got to, you know, the way you speak is in the way that you write. I got to prepare the PowerPoints and everything. And I had a little meltdown last week. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like this, I have a headache. I'm juggling all these things. This is too much. You know, most people, they have a hard enough time doing all the different things that I'm doing just in English. And I'm doing all the same things in Chinese. And I said, okay, Diana, you may not be perfect, but you're going to show up. You're going to get online. You're going to give that training, and you're just going to do it. And every single time you just show up and do it, you will get better. The universe has no choice but to just keep pushing you along. And
show up.
And it's happening. But Dr. James, it's really, really hard. I have a major meltdown, not a little one. I mean a major one where I'm on the sofa, I cry, I have a good boo-hoo about once every few months.
You have the ugly cry every other month.
Oh. Yeah, man. I had one last week.
So what do you do to bounce back? How do you recover from those moments?
You know, I always want some secret solution, like chocolate or or French fries or something, but I don't have the best stomach anymore. I have ulcers that come back, who go away and come back and go away and come back. So, you know, I found, and, you know, I'm scared of gaining weight and things because I like to keep my weight down since I spend so much time on stage and in front of the public eye. So one thing that I've been treating myself every once in a while, even though I have an ulcer, is a cup of coffee. Every once in a while. I had that, just a little bit of coffee, and it just gives me and I'm like, yeah, I'm just like jumping on the mountains. I'm like, I can do this, even if I sound like an idiot. I'm like, and then by the time I know it, it's over. And I'm like, oh, thank you, coffee. But I can't do it every day. I do it like maybe once a month, maybe when I really need to pick me up.
Let's stay with the theme of having to pick yourself up. Show up. There's a question in the chat room that says, are you treated differently as an African-American woman living where you are opposed to living in the US? If so, how? Again, are you treated differently as an African American woman living in Taiwan, opposed to living in the US?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not the way that you would think. You really have to dissect the word racism and what it really means. People will say, oh, you know, looking at my speech, people are constantly commenting on your skin and your hair and this and that. That's so racist. Okay, well, let's just really think about the word racism. And, you know, it usually has a negative connotation, not a curious connotation. Here, people are curious. It's not necessarily negative. So a part of it is just, you know, trying to educate. Whereas in the US, some people aren't educated, but there's less of a reason not to be in the US. There's so many different types of people in education and things. There's less of a reason why people should be touching your hair or commenting about your skin color or whatever. But one of the things I will say is, here, I know exactly what people are thinking. They share it, I know it, it's out. When I'm in the US, I have no idea what anyone thinks. And that actually really scares me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That really scares me. So they have the education in the US. They're, because of everything being very politically correct and everyone having to, you know, have this certain way of behaving and everything in front of others, you're not really sure how you stand in front of other people. I would have to say full on, I'm way more uncomfortable in the US than I am here. Way more uncomfortable. Here, I know everyone stares. I know everyone's curious. And then once you answer their questions and they get used to seeing you once or twice, they're over it, like completely over it. They've moved on to something else. But in the States, we tend to hold on to things for a long time and won't let it go. Like the hatred and the animosity that is brewing in the US, particularly in the past couple of years, is frightening. It's frightening.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. Thank you for sharing. You mentioned your book is called The Speaking Seed. Your company is also called The Speaking Seed. In essence, in addition to speaking and winning Toastmasters and being on TV, what do you do?
Okay, so basically what I do is I help Western organizations understand Chinese nuances. So when Western organizations have different companies or branches here in Taiwan and they're underperforming, or factories here that are underperforming, I step in and I help explain how they're underperforming because there's some kind of communication, there's some kind of communication mishap, or there's a lack of cultural understanding, usually from the Western counterpart side. So I kind of come in as the middle person and try to explain, okay, maybe we need to work on your cross-cultural communication skills. Maybe they need to understand more about Western, business values and way things work. And I can come in, and since I've been in Taiwan for a very long time, Taiwanese people can accept me and my opinion, and I can talk straight to them. And also Western, like American companies, can relate to me because I'm an American, and I can also relate to them. So I'm kind of the bridge, as I said, the bridge of the two cultures, and that's a lot of what I do. So, but it's important that different firms that I work for, they have to understand and recognize that they have a problem. You may see it from the outside, but you can't share with them, oh, I see exactly what your problem is. So it's almost a lot like life coaching where you kind of have to just kind of go to each side and listen to how they feel, what they think. And even though they may share with you in the beginning, well, this is what we really need. We really just need a speech coach, or we really just need a training. You know, you may start off with that as the first project. And then later, you know, if they like the work that you do, they sign you on again, and then you do more work. And then you're really digging into what are the real issues that are going on? Why did they choose me? They could have easily chosen someone that was just completely American or completely Taiwanese, but they wanted someone who could bridge between the two. You know, an American, a Black American woman here. And I can understand this since I'm a Black American. I'm an American that was a minority. So I can really identify with how Taiwanese people feel, and also with the struggle that Western people feel with trying to connect with the Taiwanese people here. So that's just a quick synopsis of what I do. Sounds complicated, but
no, you're very learned. You're very intuitive. I'm going to show another clip, but you're talking about foreign language public speaking or communicating more effectively. And the clip is short, but I love the way you couch it and the two most important ingredients you believe that are needed in order to communicate and connect.
I believe that foreign language public speaking can help anyone accelerate their foreign language learning goals. So from the beginning that anyone starts learning a foreign language, they should be required to implement public speaking skills into their foreign language. For example, let's say it's the first week of a language class and everyone is just learning, hi, my name is Diana, I'm from the United States, I'm 46 years old, I'm a Virgo, whatever, okay? All the grammar, the vocabulary, everything that you learn that week should be a requirement. Let's say every Friday as your quiz, you have to stand up in front of your whole class and do a speech and share it in front of your classmates.
Okay.
Why is this important? You're implementing, you're practicing your reading skills, you're practicing your writing skills, you're implementing the grammar and the vocabulary that you learned all week, and there's a very, very important focus on pronunciation. Pronunciation, communication is the most important part of foreign language learning.
Powerful, powerful, powerful. So really, not just repeating what you're learning, is making it a part of your everyday language.
Yeah, I really found that foreign language public speaking needs to be implemented into every single language class. Every single language class. Even as native English speakers, you know, kindergarten kids should be giving presentations all the time. I mean, we have little show and tell and say, here's my bear, his name is Teddy, da, 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 da. You know, that actually is a presentation where we're trying to teach our children to get over the fear of expressing and sharing something about themselves in front of a group of people listening to you. So it's helping the audience, the kids in the audience, practice their listening skills and empathy skills, and it's also helping the speaker being able to have confidence in sharing what they know. But something happens along the way where we know that this is important for small children, but from elementary school all the way through until about high school. High school, they're starting to implementing a lot more now, but there's no opportunity for really working on our presentation skills. And I have a huge problem with that. It's one of the reasons why a lot of introverted people or shy people, they struggle with sharing their ideas with other people, even though they're really intelligent and have a lot to offer. But many things we have to be pushed to do it. Like, I hate calculus. Like, I don't even use it now. But guess what? Presentation skills, and Warren Buffett said, everybody needs it. Everyone needs it, whether it's virtual, in person. You will be respected so much more. And for foreign language learning, no one cares if you can read or write a foreign language. They only care if you can speak it and understand it.
It's powerful, powerful. Shifting a little bit, you said everyone needs it. There's a book, another book by Diana Watson that I believe everyone needs. Let's take a look at the cover and please tell me what this masterpiece is about. Let's take a look. Call to Lead, Success Strategies for Women, Diana Watson. Talk to us. Talk to us. Call to Lead.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Call to Lead. I wrote this book with 17 other women, and I was invited to write a section about cross-cultural leadership. One of the amazing things about living abroad and learning a foreign language is that I was able to use what I learned to do a lot of the work that I performed. And in Toastmasters, I had a great opportunity to be a president of a club 2 times. I was an area director. I was a division director. I had to organize conferences and different events and do trainings. It was an incredible amount of work. In addition to the work that I do with the Ministry of Education here in Taiwan, where I have to do a lot of trainings and help people convince principals of my way of teaching is the best way, even though they don't want to hear it. And many people think that when they go to another country and they're working with other people, that they don't need to work on their leadership skills, or the leadership skills that they learned in their own country is the same way that they can do things in another country. And that's not the case. It's really, really important to understand how to be able to encourage people to do work in another environment. And I have a whole chapter dedicated to cross-cultural leadership in this book to help anybody who has some kind of an assignment or they're working with people in other countries to be able to manage their teams better.
Diana, what can I say? Listen, I would be remiss if I did not show this picture. By you coming home in 2019, I had a chance to encourage, I wasn't going to say beg you to be the MC at my graduation party. So we have a picture from that evening. Let's take a look. Do you remember that night? Do you remember that night?
I had a great time. It was so wonderful meeting your family and friends. And, you know, a PhD is a huge accomplishment. I went in for my PhD. I didn't finish it. You finished yours. I'm so proud of you. Dr. James Show, I was honored to be the MC of your party that night. I remember it clearly.
And you did a phenomenal job keeping those speakers brief, because they were
everyone wanted to talk 20 minutes.
5 minutes? What 5 minutes? No, I've known him all my life. Diana, at this part of the program, we conclude with our guests providing a MINI, a mini keynote. You're a speaker, I'm a speaker. I think words of encouragement, words of direction, a call to action, help with healing. I want you to take the next 30 seconds, look right into that camera, and give us 30 seconds of Diana Watson talking to us about our goals, about tomorrow, about finishing strong. Hold up, mic check, mic check, mic check. All right, Diana Watson, you can do it in Mandarin. No, do it in English. Do it in English.
你要我讲中文吗？我可以用中文，没关系。你要吗？ Okay, sorry. English. English. Okay. For any of you who are watching right now or in the future, I want you to understand that it's an amazing honor to be on Dr. James' show, where he's sharing all these accomplishments that I've made. But please understand that all of us have amazing accomplishments, whether it's being a great parent, whether it's being really great at our jobs, whether it's learning a language, whether it's, you know, exercising and keeping our weight down or focusing on our health. We can't measure ourselves based on other people's accomplishments and thinking that we're not good enough or we don't measure up. I really, really hope that today can encourage a lot of you who believe that you can't show up for yourself, that it's not so important to show up for yourself, that it's more important to show up for your kids or your parents or your jobs or for other people who are counting on you. I hope that I was able to encourage you today that if you could show up for yourself, it'll be so much easier for you to show up for everything else. And you'll have an amazing list of accomplishments that when at the end of the day, when you meet your maker or when all's said and done, you're going to be happy that you used your time wisely. Thank you.
Diana, awesome. Thank you. It's 1 o'clock where you are now, 1 o'clock a.m.
Yes.
Thank you for showing up. Thank you for living what you give. And for everyone else, another informational and transformational show. Thank you for showing up. Now going forward, keep Diana's words in your mind, in your head. Show up for life. Show up for your colleagues. Show up for you. This is the epitome of go big or go home. And Diana is in Taiwan, going big. We'll see you next week. Please bring your friend, and don't forget, you've just been Gym-Facted.